Hey y'all, welcome to episode 194 of Consignment Chats. We have a spotlight today. We have a special guest who we have discussed on previous shows, which we will link up here, I'm sure some of those, but we have heard a lot about our friend, new friend to Samantha, to Libby and I, Anna of Forgotten Treasures. Anna, how are you?
Good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great. We're so glad you're here.
So I haven't actually got to meet Anna beforehand either.
Oh.
I've been in her shop many times now in the last few months, and she's always busy.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. This is my first time actually like having a conversation with Samantha. That's so it's like well, she gets to put a face to my name. Like I know who she is because I've seen her on here before, but
right. Yeah,
she can put a face to the name. Well, I got to tell you, we are uber impressed with everything we hear about your business. So let's start. And why don't you let people know kind of who you are? Tell us about what your business is and where you're located.
So I run a brick and mortar consignment shop in Boyne City, Michigan, which is, if you're looking at Michigan, this is how we do it. I am, let me look at it the right way. I'm like right here, I guess I would say. Yeah.
You're on the pinky side, right?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I'm up north.
She's down by Traverse City. A lot of people know Traverse City. She's down by there.
I'm over here. I'm not good at this. Yeah, so I have had this business in May now for 7 years, and started it by myself slightly. My mom ran consignment shops my whole life, so I've actually been doing an in resale since probably my third grade time, as I think when my mom opened her first store, bought her first store, I would say. I'm 40 now, so I've been around the game a while. And so, but I branched out on my own. I went to college, worked an office job for 6 years and hated every second of it, but worked for my mom on weekends. I worked for my mom on the weekends when I was doing that. And then an opportunity came up to open my own store here in Boyne City. And I tell people I didn't know a thing about Boyne before coming to here, kind of opened it on a whim and a prayer, hoping that it would work out. And it's been awesome ever since. I've been here for 7 years and growing every year. So I do a mixture of housewares and full line family clothing. So I have kids, women's and men's, and a small furniture, because I'm 2,000 square feet. That's kind of the gist of it. Right now, I have 3 employees that are full-time, plus myself, and then a high school girl who comes in like 2 hours a week when kind of she feels like it, because I'm pretty easygoing with that stuff with her, because she's in high school. But I have 3 full-time girls that are here for me. I think one is kind of in mixed to branch off, and because I tell people this is my business, this is my career, and it's different when, this is, and it's okay for you to branch off and find your career. But yeah, so that's kind of the gist of it. From when I worked for my mom, I guess I should say my background kind of comes from there. She had 3 different consignment shops while I grew up. So she had one over in Sheboygan, which is other side of the state, but still northern Michigan. And then she opened one by us in Harbor Springs. And then she ended when I went to high school and had the last one in Indian River for 17 years on that.
So were they operating all at the same time or all separately, correct?
No, all separately. Yeah, she there was always just something to get out of it. Like they never failed. It was always a great transition for her, but she just always loved it, like loved doing it. And still to this day, she talks about opening another one. I'm like, Mom, don't do it to yourself. Like you're retired, you're enjoying your grandkids. Like just don't do it to yourself. But you know how resale is. You get that bug, and you're like, oh, like she still goes out and buys, and she's one of my consigners.
I was just gonna say, I know she has items in your store.
Yes, yep. And because she loves to do it. Like she's, goes out garage sale and sends me links all the time, and I'm like, Mom, if you want to get it, you can get it. Do you need it? Sure, Mom. Like, but I love her. I love everything that she's taught me. So a lot of it, and she mostly ran hers on her own because she had the time to run it on her own. But yeah, so that's kind of where things sit for me.
We always
So one of the things like we always, go ahead, Molly.
I was gonna say, we always say that reselling is a family business. You are the definition of it right there. That is truly a family business. I love it.
Yeah.
It's just fun. Like,
Yeah.
no matter what, it's just fun. And once you get the itch for it and understand it, like, it's just fun. Like, even for me, like, I don't do a whole lot of sourcing myself because it's not needed. I have over 1,000 consigners that I deal with. My store is full at all times. And so I don't need to, but it doesn't mean that I don't go thrifting myself. Like, I hit up the stores all the time just because I like to. Like,
Right.
I've got a 4-year-old son now, and he grows and he likes trucks and toys, and it's not cheap. So, he's going to break stuff, and I'm not going to buy a $40 toy that he's going to break in 2 days. So, and he loves it too.
So one of the things, like, people just starting in the business, I know my friends had a consignment shop before me, and she said you cannot even, and she knew I was opening one, and she kind of coached me. She said you can't even imagine the work that goes into this. She's like, I could tell you, but you're not going to believe it. And I was like, oh, I grew up with the family business. I get it. And, like 2 months in, I called her and I was like, you were totally right. There was no possible way I could imagine the work that goes into it and how hard you have to work. So your experience coming from, right, a mom that owns consignment stores, did you also have that same experience, or did you feel that you knew what you were getting into?
No, I didn't know. I knew what I was getting into to an extent. Like you probably, like, you knew to an extent. And then, and mine is a lot different than, like, my mom did consignment and she would get a lot in. In the end, hers was more outsourcing that I was a part of. So it's different in that aspect, where the amount of consigners that I have compared to what she had is a lot different. Like, a lot more people are using this, using my consignment shop, at least. So it's just like, she even says, like, where you are at and where I am at has been totally different, like, with the growth of it. And I think that's just the change of times and what people are doing to, what people can see. So
I think that's part of it. But as someone who has shopped your store many times, I also think it's your employees that are making that difference, because they, like, greet you as soon as you walk through the door. They make sure that they're greeting you, and then they help you, and that you have, like, an awesome experience while you're shopping. But there's that experience at the checkout as you're checking out. They ask you if you know what consignment is. Have you consigned before? This is the terms for consigning here. Like, they go through a whole thing, and I'm sure that is a huge part of what's drawing people in to bring stuff into you.
it is. And I would love to take a lot of props, but I have some girls that have just done it on their own too. I mean, I tell them when they've been hired in here, I was lucky. Kirsten came on as, I had a girl in previous years, but Kirsten, who runs the main and register in my intake most of the time, she had some sales experience in the back working for, like, chain stores like the Buckle, and she had worked at Plato's Closet. So she knew the background of what consignment was. So that was a huge help. And I just told her, greet people, talk to them. That's what they want. And then some people don't want it. You have to learn how to read people.
Definitely.
I have another girl, Alexis. She does a lot of my behind the scenes stuff, but she's also out on the floor. And I think you've met her, Samantha.
I did. She was, like, hauling a tote through the store, like, doing some stocking, doing some stuff. And I grabbed her and I had a nice long conversation with her.
Yeah.
So she's great.
I have girls that are workhorses, I would like to say, much like myself. We don't stop. We don't sit. We don't know what a lunch break is. You eat on the go, and that's what, and they enjoy it that way. They don't want to stop and sit and go do anything else. But, and even I would like to say Alexis is I don't want to say shy in the sense, but she's not striking up like Alexa or like Samantha said. She didn't like strike up a conversation, but she knows, like, you say hi to people, you greet people, you learn the business, things. And then there's Jane. And Jane came to me. Jane came to me last year. She had been a consignor of mine, customer of mine, like daily customer of mine, starting in 2020. And she's 50, in her 50s probably.
Yeah.
But her personality just brings a totally different level to my store than I think what people are used to. And I've heard it many, many times, and they just adore and love her. Like, they enjoy the other two, but because I've taken a step back being out on the floor so much, because if I'm out on the floor, I'm talking to people, which means I don't get a lot of my work done, and I do most of the computer input and pricing. So Jane has brought a different level, and where I don't even know how to explain her.
I trying to think of the words too. She is larger than life. That is for dang sure. The first time I met her, she came up to my husband and I as we were shopping, and I had the way she talked to me, I had to run through my head, like, do I know this lady? Have I met her before? Like, should I be knowing her name? Because she just came right up and she's like, how you doing? Oh, you got him shopping there. And she just started talking like we were friends.
Yeah. Yep. And that's how she talks to everybody. And the girls have like certain terms that they use that I even can say I never would have thought of, because I feel like for me, building the business was building the relationships with the community. We're a touristy town, but we're also turning into more of a Four Seasons town, where because we have Boyne Mountain that's close to us, which is ski hill, and they also have the Sky Bridge now, which makes it more Four Seasons. They do. I mean, it's just a resort. So, which has made Boyne City, which is 10 miles away, 5 miles away, probably, more, and we're right on the water, more of a four season place. But my girls so I kind of wanted, when I came in, to meet the locals and get ingrained with them, because that was important to me. Like, those are going to be my year-round people that are going to continue shop. June, July, and August, great. Great that there are an extra 10,000 people in our town. But in my winter months, like, things are going to slow down. So once these girls came on, they knew people, so they kind of knew how to talk. And so they knew how to talk one-on-ones with people. One has a mother that's a teacher, so she knew a lot of people, to have that relationship. But then they just kept using terms like have you been here before? I think I've seen you before. Are you a frequent flyer? Like, and so they make you feel like you're recognized, even if you've never been to the United States before, like that they might know who you are. Yeah. And it's great. I just have to stand back and laugh sometimes. But going back on Jane, she, like, this kind of gives you of what Jane is. So she came into me last Labor Day, and she was working a full-time job, and they were cutting down the hours. And she said to me, she goes, I'm just letting you know that they're cutting down my hours. And if I'd really like to try to work here. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, let me talk to Kirsten. And because she'd been on for a year, and I quote her my manager in a sense. And I said, let me talk to Kirsten, and then I'll let you know. And it was Labor Day weekend. We were closed on Monday, and Tuesday morning, I get a text from Kirsten, and I hadn't gotten to the store yet. And I said, do you have something to tell me? And I just started laughing, and I texted her back, and I said, is Jane there? She goes, yep. And she said she's working, and she has not stopped. I mean, but that's just, and I walked in the back door, and she popped through my back curtain, and I'm like, hi, Jane. And she's just like, hi. And I'm like, what are you doing? She goes, well, I just thought you'd give me a try. And it takes, and like Samantha said, it kind of takes it to a new level, that she's here. Like, she's done a lot of stuff. She creates this atmosphere. I mean, all my girls do in a sense, like, but she just creates this larger than life atmosphere where you feel you just feel really special. She tells people she appreciates them being here. And I don't know how many people I have said to me that have said, I have never had someone say that they appreciate me being in their business. And
she's like the
Wow.
social worker of your store.
yeah,
Because like somebody will come in and they'll buy a pair of like kids' shoes and they'll say they're for their son for school. And she'll be like, do you want to make extra money while your son's in school? You can consign with us. And she like does this whole thing. She's like, she's telling me the story and she's like, we're changing lives. And she is like doing this whole, like she's consulting with people at the front desk. I love it.
I got
She's great.
whatever it is that you have right now. We have people in the brick and mortar world and in the online world who are thinking of hiring people, and they want whatever mojo it is that you have that attracts these people. They want you to bottle it so we can pass it on to them, because they want the kind of people you have. Some of them may have some, but whatever it is you have, you seem to do it really well. That would be awesome.
I've had that conversation when I watched the video that you guys did before regarding talking about employees and all that, and Samantha talking about the store. And I just thought to myself, what they bring is, because you talked about me training and what do I do?
Yeah.
It's I can't teach what they do. And I don't think you can be taught how to do that. I think you have to have a personality in order to do that. And I think you guys have some brick and mortar experience to know, like, you can't sit there like a bump on the log and not greet people and not make them feel wanted and expect them to come in and purchase stuff from you. Like, I have people that have came in from a couple other businesses in our town and have said, I walked in that store and they didn't even look me in the eye and they were off busy doing something. So I wanted to buy a sweater over there, but I came over here and they had 5 sweaters in their hand, and that is, I just think that feeling when you walk in a door is such a big thing. My mom went to a consignment shop last week, downstate, and she said it wasn't a good feeling when I went in there. They didn't greet, they weren't nice talking to me. Like, they could have cared less that I was there. You have to care. Like, for me and for these girls, and they have even said it to me, this is how I get paid. Like, if I'm not making those sales, you're going to have to get rid of me. And I don't want you to get rid of me.
Right. So, having been in the hiring space and all of this, your situation is so unusual. I mean, this is not the state of small business in America where you can get employees and you can get fantastic employees. And it is the number one, thing that small businesses struggle with across the board, every industry. There has to be something you are doing, and maybe it was that connection with community that you established up front. There has to be something that you are doing to get your Janes and your employees and people that are so invested and understand that they're not entitled, right? They work and they get paid. They bring in the money. They can still have a job.
Yeah,
that is not the norm.
No, it's not. And I'm on a board here in town. It's our Main Street board. And people say that to us all the time. Like, help is hard to find. And I sit there and agree with them. Like, yes, it is. It's not easy. Like, when my other girl had left me that I had 2 years ago, I kind of was going, but it was, Kirsten is one of my customers' good friend's daughters. And she said, well, Kirsten doesn't like the job she's at now. And I said, okay, tell her to come in on Tuesday. Like, had known Kirsten, but and knew her background. So I really wasn't worried about it. And Kirsten has health issues. I'm aware of that. And I think that's a lot of things for me as a boss to say, okay, number one, this is my business. This is not your guys' business. I want you to invest in it and love it as much as I do. But at the end of the day, if you are sick, or if Alexis, you have 3 kids, if your kids are sick or you're sick, or Jane, you want to go to boat races with your husband, it's my business. And so I can respect that. And I think that's a lot of what makes it work for me, is because, like, Kirsten called me this morning. She got a kidney stone. okay. Like I said, Tuesday was crazy. And she goes, I'm not going to be in for an hour. Okay. Like, give yourself some time. I'm not going to be mad at you for having kidney stone. I don't have control over that. Like, Alexis had to take last week off because her kids were sick. Like, I don't have control over that. I can't be a corporation and say you only get sick days a year. Like, I just don't think that's fair. And it's like I said before, this is my career, and this is not their career. Like, I'm not looking at them to make this a lifelong job for themselves. And I think that, like, this is a lifelong job for me. So I think that plays a lot into it. It's just kind of knowing that it's mine and I want it to be theirs, but they also have a life beyond this, where I have a life beyond this, but this is part of my life too.
Well, and I think you
Right.
ultimately saying that and feeling that way lets them know that you respect them, which in turn makes them respect you that much more. You know, it's that old, you get what you give. Like, you're giving them the respect and care for them that they want to give that back to you. They want to give you their best.
Alexis has worked for me for a little over a year. She's a mom of 3 kids, and she is trying to, like, one of the reasons why, like, she was a consignor beforehand, customer, big time. She's a mom of 3 kids, and she's been trying to get, like, back on her feet. And this was one of those steps to get back on her feet, because there are a lot of other things going on in her life as well. And she came to me, or she literally texted me last night, and she's like, I have to talk to you about something. Will you mind if I take a couple of days off a week to go clean with her mother-in-law, because she needs to supplement her income a little bit better? Yeah, that's fine. Like, I can understand that that's fine for you and you need to do that. I've talked to her about it since the beginning. This is not going to be a career for you. And it's not like she'd want this to be a career. Like, she actually said to me at one point, do you want to open another business? And I was like, no, not really, like another one, a Petoskey or something. And I was like, no, I don't think so. She goes, yeah, I thought about that. And I'd have thought, I don't want to work as much as you work. Like, like that. And I think that's the realization too, is I understand for her, and I can say to her, yeah, that's fine. Like, it was hard for her to tell me that, but I'm so like, okay, like, yeah, like, I can make that work still. Like, we can figure out a way to make that work. And if you still want to be here, that's great. And if in the long run you're moving on, then that's fine too. I mean, that's part of owning a business, is employees come and go. Not rude in saying that, like, it's
So right, my mind has just totally shifted, and I just had like a big major light bulb moment while you were talking, and I love that whole attitude, because I'm a little embarrassed to say, but I'm just going to say it. Like, my attitude was the exact opposite, and was still up until this moment the exact opposite. I have never said, well, it's my business, so, like, I'm not expecting this to be your career. I'm not. What my attitude was, oh my gosh, I'm ultimately responsible for everything. It was total negative of that. I'm ultimately responsible. This is my business, and this is, if somebody calls off, then I have to cover because it's my responsibility. And that little mindset shift is huge, to take that and say, well, this is my career. This is how I make a living. And I understand that that's not, your motivation. And I got this because this is my life.
Yeah. And I would say it hasn't always been like this. But I think because I ran the business myself for the first 4 years, I had a lady come in, but I mean, I was here Monday through Saturday, 8 in the morning till 8 at night, doing this by myself. And then lo and behold, I got pregnant in 2020, and that kind of changed a lot of my attitude on things too, like, where I have to learn how to give up control and all that fun stuff. So now I have a 4-year-old son. But that I think that kind of changes your mindset, where with things, not necessarily having the kid, but just where your priorities lay with stuff. My priority is still here. This is still my baby. This is my first baby, in a sense, I tell people. but my priority is also with him. So I have to have these great employees so that I can take 2 or 3 days off a week and spend it with him, because he's only going to be little once and he starts school on Tuesday. And
Right?
so yeah, like there's just such a culmination of things that I feel like over the years has went into it, like in a good way for me mentally, just the all around. It's been great, and it's allowed me to give up that control, because the first girl that I had hired on here that was full time, I struggled with a lot, because she wanted more out of the job than what I was willing to give, because I didn't have that trust in her that she could do it, and she couldn't. Like, my reality was is she couldn't, and there was no way that I could teach her to be me. Where with these guys that I have, I think each of them has their own personality, but they also have a bit of my personality in them too, to where they understand like where I'm coming from with stuff, and I understand where they're coming from with stuff. And it allows me to have faith in them and really just trust them. Like, I never felt like I could walk away from the store for 4 days. And I did it 2 weeks ago, and it's still standing, and a great weekend. And like,
Good job.
yeah. And granted, I have cameras on the place. I do everything
Right.
on the cloud system. And so you can see it. So, and they know that they can call me, but and it was one of our busiest weekends of the summer, because we have 50 festivals in this town every summer.
So
but yeah.
something that your town does, your town's starting to do it, and then I noticed it, like, we talk about Traverse City quite a bit, because I love that they have like thrift brochures. All of their thrift type stores have a huge black and white sign that says thrift, and they have their little thrifting trail. So I talk about that in our community a lot, and how other communities should work together and the businesses should collaborate and not be a competition. And I noticed that in your area too. I of course go to Challenge Mountain every time I'm down there. And then I was talking to the girls. I had brought my daughter the one time, and she was talking about how she wanted some more clothes. She was looking at other places. They rattled off a list of where she should go. She said something about a greenhouse or plants. My kid's obsessed with plants. And they were like, "Oh, you should go to the florist down the street. Her name's so and so. She doesn't actually have like a greenhouse, but if you go in there and talk to her, she'd probably have plants. So you could just go talk to her." We ended up hanging out with the florist down the street and her new puppy for like 2 hours afterwards. And even in Challenge Mountain, when I was in Challenge Mountain, they had your guys' name on a sign behind on their wall behind their checkout, along with a couple other places. And they encourage everybody to shop local and go spend time in other businesses. So I absolutely love how everybody's fostering that there and sending each other back and forth.
Boyne, from what I've learned now, is very community based. We do a lot in the town to keep people here. They started, so like I said, I'm on the Main Street board, which is it's like a local DDA board, but it's more driven to your downtown area in ways that you can drive it. And we started that 21 years ago, I think. 20,
wow.
Maybe even more than that now, 23 years ago. Anyways, and that has been a real driver for the town. Created a lot of events through that have brought people here and have really kind of enlightened people to Main Street or to Boyne City. So, and now I'm ingrained with that, which has made me learn a lot more. But I think the biggest thing is that even on that board, we make the community feel important. So and that we make every business feel important. We have our executive director goes in and out of businesses all the time and talks to them. And it is that sense of importance of knowing. And I never view another thrift or consignment store as competition, because I mean, as you guys know, you go to one, you want to go to them all.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, because we often get that question. Oh, there's a new one opening, and I've had this from a local consignment store here, like, oh my gosh, well, that's not good. And I was like, no, that is like a huge opportunity for you. So if you could talk a little bit about how many like are in your area and different ways that you collaborate with them.
Yep. So I in Boyne City itself, we have 3 resale stores. So there's my store that's a consignment shop, Challenge Mountain, which is a thrift store. And their money goes to special needs, like a ski mountain where it's a big long thing. But basically their thrift store funds that. And then we also have Home Again Resale, which is home goods. And their money is for the local humane society. So we have 3 here in our town, and everyone kind of has their little niche. Because I'm consignment based, mine is different. Challenge Mountain is it's an easy drop for everything. I actually, when my consignment terms are up on my contract, I allow people to have returns if they want to come back and get it, or I donate. And every Tuesday and Friday, Challenge Mountain knows I'm coming with a cart full. Like they just do. Like, stuff gets donated. Not everything gets bought. That's the reality of it. They appreciate it. Especially like winter months when things are slower, like they appreciate that I've chosen to donate to them. And then Home Again. Yeah. Home Again is just all home goods. So there's 3 here in this town. And then towns around East Jordan, which is maybe 10 minutes away, they have one over there. There's a little one in Ellsworth. I mean, if we could create a map, I think at one point the manager at Challenge Mountain talked about creating a map, because Petoskey itself has 5 or 6 resale stores. So I think it's important, because a lot of times people don't want to go to just one town. Like, we're not on the beaten path. We're not on 31, which is the road. Like, you have to travel 10 minutes off of one of the main highways to get to us. So if there can be 3 stores, that you're going to want to come to us. Where if there's only one, like, then they go, oh, like, we can just pass that by, is my thought. Like, it probably isn't that good. And I like having the 3 stores because we're not all inundated with stuff. People sometimes want to donate, sometimes want to consign, and we're all making it work, and we're all very successful through it. Like, I talk numbers with Challenge Mountain. I don't talk to the Home Again that much, but I will tell you, with them, even they got a bag of clothes, and they just said, do you guys want it? And because they're not going to sell it in their store because they're home goods. And so I created an account for them at the store and gave money back to them, because I think those are little things that you can do to keep that rapport. And they appreciated it. So, but yeah, I think it's very important to not view it as competition, because like any store, any type of shopping around you is going to be great for you. It doesn't matter if it's, resale or anything. Like, the more people that are in there, I have a coffee shop across the street from me. I also have a physical therapy place. Like, those things are great for me. I don't view I want all of our buildings, and luckily for us in Boyne City, lo and behold, we have a 99% vacancy, like where our stores are all full. So we're very lucky and we're a walkable district. So you have 2 to 3 blocks of where you can walk on it, and all of our stores are full. So that's great for all of us. And I have to say, with my landlords, who I have a good relationship with, they've even talked to me. They're like, we want to make sure, because rent can be atrocious in some places. They just said to me, we want to make sure our buildings are full. We have good people renting them, but we want to make sure our buildings are full, so we're not going to run you out. Thank you. Like, nice. I think it's just that all around. Like I said, when I came into this, I did not know what I was getting into by coming to Boyne City, and I can't tell people enough how happy that this is a place that I chose, because I was looking at a couple other places, and and the relationships that I have with people now, like the family relationships that I have with people, is awesome.
I love
So,
it.
Molly, I know where we'll be stopping when we go visit Samantha.
I was
Right?
the same thing.
You'll have to tell me if you're coming down, so I'll make sure that I'm here.
Okay, we'll definitely do that. Definitely. I'm going to make a quick change because I know we have, like I say, we have a lot of brick and mortar people in our community who listen. So, quick, just intake process. When you do your intake process, what does that look like for you?
So I'm in a back room. Kirsten's out at the front. For my consignment agreement, I do a 60-day consignment, 50-50 split. After 30-day stuff does get marked down. I feel like I'm on repeat because I've said this a billion times in my life now. Because I also got this from my mother. So, right? I've been saying it since I was 8. But Kirsten will go through all the items. I do a limit of, and I give and take on it. I shouldn't say we give and take on it. 20 items per week per consigner, just because of the amount of consignments we have coming in. Over the years, it has switched from being a lot of general brands and now I can be a little bit more picky about what we take in, just because of the amount of stuff that we've gotten. And that's kind of been a hard realization for some of my consigners to understand. Kids' clothes, I feel like, is totally different than women's clothes, but that has made a big difference in how things are. But I get great quality things all around, and it just takes a little bit for people to get used to. Kirsten goes through it up front, or Jane. Usually, Alexis does not like to do that. And then they bring it back to me back here, and I have totes on totes on totes right now that I can whiz through pretty quick. We put about 150 to 200 pieces out a day. And sometimes I get backed up to where I'm a week out of getting your stuff out. So it's in tubs and tagged and ready to go out. But reality is I'm 2,000 square feet. So I can only shove so much on a rack. And I have used every possible space in my store that I can. And every time I think that there might be a little bit more room, I research online and find a rack to fit there.
It is, you guys don't even know. Like, we've all been to those stores where stuff is just like shoved in. This is like every space is perfectly curated so that this little guy, you notice him, but then you also notice the thing sticking out of him and the thing he's sitting on and he's on top of the men's clothing. Like, but it all looks great when you walk in that store. It is packed of awesome stuff.
Yeah, I think over the past year, we've made some changes to make it more breathable. I want people to not feel overwhelmed. I want it to feel breathable. I mean, my store is a long building. You walk in and you wouldn't think it's that long, and then you look back and you're like, hello, hello, hello. So you just but I've learned how to utilize the areas, and like I said, just try to find different things. And some days I have to put up. Sometimes of the year I have to put up more racks, and sometimes of the year I can take racks down, which is good too. It just depends. I mean, I laugh at the people that always come in the wintertime and say, oh, you're so packed. Yes, I am. But reality is I have more inventory in the summertime because 5 tank tops take up where 1 coat can be, but they don't see it that way. Coats just gets puffier, especially now style. But yeah, so anyways, back on intake. Then it comes back to me and I kind of do a double take on everything then. And then I input it in the system, give it to Alexis in the back, and she gets it tagged and hung and steamed and it goes out. Or if I'm doing housewares, Jane and Kirsten kind of curate the store that way and put those out. Everyone kind of has their specific job that they do. And everyone knows everybody else's job, but everyone has their job that they like to do. And so that just kind of like Alexis has a little bit of OCD and she likes things to be neat and proper and steamed and like it's relaxing for her. Steam away. It's 100 degrees out today. Bought her a fan so she could do it more.
There you go.
But yeah, and then when I'm taking stuff in, I ask obviously for it to be clean, laundered, in boxes, no hangers, because that just gets to be a mess, or slightly folded in a box or in a tote. Most people are pretty good about stuff. And yeah, usually within a couple of days now, we've honed in to where it goes out within a couple of days. But I think last winter I was like 10 days out on putting stuff out just because the amount that was coming in. So, but there again, that kind of, we've honed in on brands a lot to make it more functional for all of us.
Okay, I really want to know. Somebody comes in with a garbage bag full of, like, worst case scenario of dirty Walmart clothing. I don't know. How do you handle that? What does that look like in your store? How do you handle that in a gracious manner?
Well, it depends on how pushy they are. Because we know how that can be. The girls are great about just saying thank you, no thank you. This is a lot of good stuff, but here's our contract, and it states in there in the first 3 lines of our contract the expectation. And if you don't meet that expectation, I'm sorry. If you'd like to take this home, we had a guy who had, I have guys that consign for me. He had dog hair on his clothes or cat hair. So, we have a sign that says no hair, but people don't read signs.
Right.
Reality. Kirsten loves signs. I'm like, they don't read them. You can have 50 billion that say, I'm going to make a sign for this. No, they don't read them.
Some don't even read contracts.
No, that is exactly right. That's why they really try to go over that contract with them. You try and be nice about it. Like, I'm very sorry, but these just aren't brands that we take. We don't get enough back off of selling these brands. Like,
there you go.
Go into Walmart and buy a tank top for $3. It's not worth it to me to put out. Like, I have to think about, and they even use what I say to them in the sense of, because Jane's had to learn a lot over the last year of coming into and understanding brands, not necessarily brands. She likes brands, she knows brands, but just like that, what you get out of it, and what it's worth and what it's not worth. A $3 tank top from Walmart, it's not worth it for me to put out there for $1. Like, because that's, if I can go to Walmart and buy it new for $3, it's not worth it for me to put out because I'm consignment. So half of that then goes back to the consignor. So I'm making 50 cents on it. And the time that I put into it, the tag that I put into it, the tag or tail that I put into it, the steam, everything. You guys know how it works. Everything that goes into it,
you've lost money.
It's not worth it if you're doing it. So and they tell that to the customer. Like, I'm sorry, but this is just not worth it to us. If you could take it home and launder it. But a lot of these brands, and sometimes I have to tell Jane, just say no, thank you. Don't have to go over every piece with them. But if they ask, like, do the explanation. Like, this is from Walmart and this is not what we take. We just don't have that ability anymore to pack our store with that stuff. It's not worth it. So, and most of them have been pretty good. I have a couple of people that are like, well, why don't you want to take this? And they push and they push and they push. And I finally, like, sometimes I have to come out of the back office and just say, I'm sorry, but we just don't want it. And if you can't understand that or continue to push, then we won't take any of your stuff because this relationship is not going to work. Because it is a relationship. You're hosting their items. Jane uses the term guest consigner a lot. She uses a lot of weird terms that I can't even explain.
That's cute. I like that one.
Yeah. Like, and she has came up with them on their own, and I don't know where she has pulled them from, but I just sit there and like, that is not me talking. Like, that is not at all me talking. But it cracks me up because I sit there and I'm just like, how does your mind work to think like that? But it's Jane, and she is a whimsical wombat of something. Yeah.
I love it.
I've
got to meet her.
Right.
I have a lot of Janes that come in. So I have a dealer that comes in pretty much every week. She's an older lady who has a antique booth down in Traverse City at one of the antique shops down in Traverse City, and I'm her girl. Like, she likes to come in. I make her feel comfortable. I work with her on stuff, like, and I don't mind that. Because she comes in every week and she spends money every week, and it's not usually a small amount. So you work with those people a little bit, and so I have Antique Jane and then I have Lady Jane, and I get the Lady Jane, and she has taken that name to be something else, like High Priestess or something, but it works.
I love it.
I love it.
I'm excited for what's going to come of this, the questions that will come, because I just love hearing everything. I love that a lot of what you say is fully what we believe, especially your community and the way that is set up. I just love it. So maybe someday, well, we're going to have you back again, even if it's when we go live in your store, when we visit sometime.
Do that. Yep.
But it's been a pleasure, and I know people are going to love hearing all that you had to say. And like I say, you could bottle and sell Employment Mojo. I don't know.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'll jar the air. I got a few jars here. I'll follow Jane around and
Yeah,
There you
just
go.
sell
get
it.
it in there. We'll help market it for you.
Yeah.
I'm your girl.
It's good
Label
stuff.
Label it whimsical wombat.
Yeah,
That's
right.
what we need.
Oh my gosh.
That'd be good. She'd really appreciate that one.
Yes, for sure.
So we do social media. I have a website for our store that drives people in more than it drives people online, but it brings a lot of people in my store.
All right, great. Well, we will get all that will be linked up in our notes below. Libby will link that up for us so people can contact you. And gosh, so you'll ship items?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I got a new place to go check out.
Yeah, we do.
Well, Anna, thank you so much for joining us. It has been a
Thank
pleasure, and I'm so glad we finally got to meet you. And Samantha, I'm sorry I didn't realize you hadn't met her yet, because we have talked about your business so many times. So
Right.
wonderful to have you here. Thank you.
Yeah, I know. I totally appreciate coming on, and this has been great and a lot of fun.
All right.
This is way out of my norm, so this has been good for me too. But it's great.
Well, you handled it beautifully. You did great.
Yeah.
All right, everybody got your cup?
Yep. Oh,
There
okay,
you
there you go.
All right, ladies.
All right.
Until next time. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you for joining Libby, Molly, and Samantha, the ladies of Consignment Chats, as we build a resourceful community of collaborative resellers. This podcast is sponsored by ListPerfectly. To join our free private communities on Facebook and Patreon, and for all things Consignment Chats, visit us at consignmentchats.com.